away.
Okay, I'll take it away. So romance, as we discussed in 2 episodes ago or whatever, when I talked about, because we already did the episode and I talked about breaking this up, about how
Men can be romantic.
Right.
Yeah, because they have a hard time like being romantic naturally.
But the key thing of being romantic, and this is why it doesn't look the same for men and women, although there can be some similarities, is that we said that it was being thoughtful. Now, the thing that I wanted to add after that, and I think maybe I said in another episode, was that it's not just thoughtful, but it's effort. So thoughtfulness plus effort is really what being romantic is. And so thoughtfulness means thinking about what is important to the other person, not what's important to you. That's why if a guy gives a girl roses and he's thought about it, and that's the kind of flower that she likes, and he knows that she likes to get flowers and that makes her feel special, that he does it and it's meaningful.
Right.
Just giving roses doesn't mean anything by itself. But that's also why, in many cases, it would not be romantic for a girl to give a guy roses.
Unless you're Blink-182.
I
won't sing the song, but I want to.
You have to do your little voice because,
well,
people
that's
wait for
a
the
different
voice.
part. But he's talking about the, where are you?
There we go.
That was really loud, and I was next to the microphone. I probably should have. Where are you?
Yeah, practice, sure. But my point is that it's not the same thing. Unless the guy really likes roses, like you said. But it's the thoughtfulness and the effort that's put into it. So that brings us to, well, what is romantic to guys? What is thoughtful and effort? What do they want?
Because I feel like women do think it's like, well, I think women think, if I do little things for him like he does for me, that's romantic. I mean, that makes him feel special. But you're saying it's not. Well, I'm not saying don't do those things, and you're not saying don't do those things, but it's not the main thing for a man.
Well, I'm saying, again, if you think about it, because the way I like to think about, and this is how I just understand women and relationships, is I think about whatever desires I have or whatever things that I feel emotionally, what is the opposite, not necessarily the opposite, because not always, but what is the corollary that women experience, right, or feel, right?
Okay.
And so in this case, right, a lot of women, their chief complaint about a man is he doesn't take me out, he doesn't remember anniversaries or birthdays or special events. He's not romantic. That's how they're describing not being romantic, is that their desire is to be made to feel special.
Right.
And that
I think because it becomes more routine. Guys are very routine, and like in the beginning they actually have to put in the effort to like get the woman, so they're doing all this extra stuff.
Right.
But then once they have the woman, they just fall back in their routine of almost like they're living by themselves, and then that's why the woman feels like there's no romance, because he's there and he might be like, I love you, but he's not like doing the extra stuff like we talked about in that episode. But
exactly,
it just falls into this like guy routine where it's like, logically I love you, why do I need to do this stuff still? Like, because he got what he wanted. And
then if we flip it, because we want to figure out the other angle, so what is the guy's experience, what is his? So
which
most
I think
guys,
every woman knows, and every man knows what typically happens in the reverse.
But they don't think about it, right? So it's like, so what happens in the reverse is the guy starts to feel like, oh, well, she doesn't wear sexy lingerie anymore. She doesn't act like she's really interested in me or desires me as much anymore. She's just taking it for granted.
I mean,
it's Wednesday.
Some of them aren't getting it at all.
Oh, yeah. Or not getting it at all.
I read some like threads and they're like, it's been 5 years. And I'm like, what?
Look, if you're
5 years?
Yeah. If you're not having sex at least 2 to 3 times a week, your relationship's broken in some way. Like, I know that a lot of people are like, oh, different people have different. No,
well,
I'm sorry,
most people like psychologists and stuff or like sex therapists or whatever say the same.
Okay, well, I'm glad that they agree, because whatever excuse you're making for, and I'm not saying that always has to be the case, and I'm not saying that there's not some period of time where
or circumstances,
but it does indicate that there's a problem that needs to be addressed and fixed, because it's not just a libido issue. It's not a mismatch of libidos. That there may be a difference between men and women for sure, but that's not what that is. Like 2 to 3 times a week is, if you're not doing that, there's a problem. And again, there's plenty of people that that I have known that have had issues, and they try to normalize. So my point is, like, you either get out or you fix it. Don't just tolerate that. So when I hear guys say that kind of stuff, I'm like, okay, look, what are you doing here then? Because But
what do you do if it's a marriage? Because a lot of times it is marriage, because like you said, the flip of a guy getting into a routine and not being romantic is a woman, getting in a relationship and can have sex whenever she wants, like with the guy. So she gets to kind of determine it, and she takes it for granted, and she doesn't do the things to like seduce him that she used to do.
So the answer to that question is it's still the same thing, in the sense that you need to fix it or get out. So
okay. But like, how would you fix it? Like, how would you tell a guy to try to fix it?
Right. Well, if I was telling a guy to try to fix it, I would say, do what we said in the previous episode. Like, start doing, and don't worry about her. Like, if you start doing your part, like, just make sure that you're an expert at making her feel loved. If you do that, don't even worry about the sex part yet. Then if she's not responding to that, and again, I'm not saying that, and the reason why I said it that way is because it's not like, okay, I just took you out to dinner.
Right. Don't do that.
Right. It's like, you have to have put in 3 months of time of putting the full effort and not caring about your own needs, and just saying, I'm just going to show this woman that she's loved.
Which I feel like guys have a hard time with, the, putting in the effort and not being like, hey, I did this for you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
because it's got to feel, because again, a romantic gesture has to feel, I guess we could add one more element to it, which is, we said that it's thoughtful, it's effort, but also it's has no expectation of anything in return.
Yeah, it has to have that. Otherwise, it's manipulation.
Yeah. Right. So,
right? Like, if you're being romantic to her just to get laid, that's manipulation.
Right.
That's not loving at all.